afternoon. Happy full moon in Sagittarius. This is also called the strawberry moon. Something about that sounds really great. But here we are at the full moon in the month of June. How did we even get here? How did we get to June, right? But this moon, I believe, is a really beautiful moon, and I love the energy of Sagittarius. I always speak about this wild energy of Sagittarius that I love so much. And so much about that Scorpio moon, that's last Scorpio full moon that just left us brooding and brooding and brooding. So I'm done with the brooding and the healing from brooding and contemplating. Yeah, welcome Sagittarius. It's freedom time, right? It's telling us that the greatest um healing act that we can do right now is to just live our lives and to live our lives boldly with a lot of freedom and liberation and truth and letting impulse and instinct, all Sagittarian tools, be the vehicle that leads you to your wholeness. So forget the brooding kind of healing. We're going to go on the wanderlust adventure, and that's going to be part of our healing too. So, as long as we balance our desires, along this way, we'll be okay. So for a long time, we're like, do we follow our instinct? Do we follow our impulse? Or do we do spiritual things, right? And it feels like there's been this darkness and this shadow that's cast, this demonizing that's been cast on purpose on what is instinctual to us or how do we respond impulsively, right? Has always felt like, oh my gosh, I can't respond impulsively. I can't respond from my instinct if I'm a spiritual person. But so much of spirituality is based on impulse and instinct, and it's really God's voice speaking to us, right? And recognizing our impulse and instinct is what saves us, can actually save you. An impulsive action can actually save you. And so it's part of God's voice to recognize our impulse and instinct. Our bodies are naturally impulsive, right? Our bodies are animalistic in their response to stimuli, right? So in this way, we're most like animals. That's the centaur, right? That's the half of us that's very animalistic, and we respond to any external stimuli with an impulsive act, right? And so plants work in this way also. Plants heal us by instinctively and impulsively working with the impulse in our bodies. So when we're functioning in an impulsive or instinctive way, we're also functioning very much aligned with nature, right? Very much aligned with nature. So this full moon, we can work on removing any kind of patterning or programming that we have been conditioned to believe around impulse and instinct, right? We can remove any kind of programming that helps us to demonize how much we receive through our impulse and our instinct. And so an impulse is a compelling urge to act without much thought. And sometimes we need to act without much thought. Our entire nervous system, by the way, is a system that is based on impulse. So our nervous system acts. Our nervous system acts without having to process a lot of thought behind it. It is done through impulse, right? The fighting in our life that comes up between impulse and instinct and spirituality, or how we're going to be, is that pushing and pulling about whether do we act on our impulse, or do we act on how we're conditioned? And then that impacts your nervous system, the system of impulse in the body. So it causes a lot of anxiety, it causes a lot of worry, it causes a lot of stress when we're constantly trying to hold back our impulses and hold back our instinct, thinking that we're doing something wrong because we've conditioned to believe that. Sagittarius is a balance of both, right? And Sagittarian mouth moves from impulse, because when you ask Sagittarians the truth, they're going to impulsively tell you the truth. And that's why so many people struggle with Sagittarians. But Sagittarians, in their highest potential are actually functioning well with impulse. They are the archer of the zodiac. And Sagittarius understands that they have to be clear, that they have to set a clear intention. And that is the thing with impulse. Setting a clear intention and then allowing that instinct and impulse to come up, and perfect timing. Sagittarius is the archer. It knows perfect timing. It knows how to balance instinct. First of all, it knows how to balance clarity of intention, instinct and impulse, and then perfect timing, all to achieve its goal. And so from the Sagittarius full moon, we can do well by tapping into that. So impulse, when the Sagittarius, the archer, right, that the centaur is holding, the center is the archer and an excellent archer. So that arrow and that bow that archer is holding is also deeply spiritual for us, because it is the arrow that carries the impulse, right? The arrow carries that impulse once it's let go. So, it's the force, the impulse is the force that's propelling that arrow. But and it helps it to gain momentum. The impulse helps that arrow gain momentum. But here's the thing. In order for that arrow to carry impulse, that bowstring, right, that bowstring, when drawn back, holds all the potential energy. And then that potential energy gets transferred to that arrow. So when that arrow is released, it carries all that potential energy, and that's called impulse. So what's your bowstring? What is it that's giving you, what force is operating in your life that's pulling you, that's stretching you? And once released, that impulse is in you, you become that arrow. So, for me, when I think about this and I think about the Sagittarius full moon occurring right around the time of when Jupiter actually changes signs into Cancer, I think about that the energy, or my potential energy that's in building up in the bowstring, is deeply connected to family, is deeply connected to your relationships with the mothers, is deeply connected to your maternal lineage. It's deeply connected to the laws that govern women and their bodies. It's deeply connected to the feminine that's inside of us. So what are the things that has been exerting force upon your reality that release is necessary to heal? So let's take a look at our relationship with our mothers, our relationship with the ancestors, our relationship with patriarchy, and how it's been creating this internal force that's building up that we're seeking deep release from. Like sometimes we just want to be released, right? And so get clear, get intentional, and realize that this release has to be focused. This release has to be coming from a place of clarity. So slow down enough to recognize, what is it that you're really needing right now? What is it that you're trying to direct this potential, this great potential of energy? Jupiter has great potential, great expansion it comes with, right? And when it enters into Cancer, it brings that potential and expansion home. So it brings it home. So what is that you're struggling, not even struggling? What has exerted force over you when it comes to home? Home of your body, home of your physical home, home of the earth and the land that we live in, but the people that are also in the home, your family, parents. What is that energy that's exerting that force that is creating that release to the next successful station in your life? So maybe you're hearing the ancestors' voices really clearly about your ancestral home. Maybe you're feeling a really strong calling from the ancestors to return to your ancestor land. Maybe you're feeling that you need to get your finances together. Maybe you're feeling that you need to organize in your community to take better care of the matriarchs in your community. Maybe it's yeah, it's the things that concern that are near and dear to you and that are foundational that really have the opportunity for us to release that arrow to that target and see that goal met, right? Because we're becoming excellent archers. And so, in order to get there and to be in this energy of this impulsive, instinctual Sagittarius moon, let's also take some time down before that moon happens, or to really just get clear about where we want to release our arrow, because once you let it go, it is going to fly. So, I'm sending you all the prayers for great fortune, deep clarity, and great luck at this time as you expand on this beautiful vision that you're creating for your home life, for your family's life, for your community's life, and for your body, right? In general. So, one thing about Sagittarius I always say is pay attention to your body. This energy can have us so directed at our goal, but so much about this stimuli that's pulsing through our veins is really to take care of our body, be focusing on the body and really caring for the body at this time. So spend some time really nourishing. Sagittarius rules the liver, right? The liver, the thigh, and the hips. Spend some time really nourishing your liver, right? Really clearing any kind of energy that's there. And the liver houses anger. So it's also like, are you shooting that arrow from anger? Or are you shooting that arrow from a deep sense of intention and a deep sense of purpose? So pay attention to that. And yeah, I'll be here to talk to you more. Until then, take really good care of yourselves. Bye-bye.